Hey, this is James. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon who you are and when you are tuning in. While we're waiting for Facebook to notify everyone, let me just cover a couple of quick things. First of all, if you're not yet following me on YouTube, when would now be the time to do that? My YouTube account is James Arthur Ray. It's absolutely free, obviously, and there's over 200 videos on YouTube about every single topic you can imagine. How to make more money, how to have greater relationships, how to have a stronger spiritual connection, more health and fitness, how to live to be 100 healthfully and vibrantly, and so much more. So jump over, not now, but when we're done here, jump over to YouTube and follow me on James Arthur Ray. Second thing, if this video impacts you in a positive and powerful way, then please just help me help you. Just hit that share button right down here. Just hit the share button and help me help you, help those that you love and care about. It's a great way to spread positive and powerful information and news in these turbulent times. So just hit the share button. You be the judge. If this is positive and powerful for you, then just share it with your friends and family. All right? With that, let me ask you a couple of questions. Would you like to make more money? Now, I know you would, because I've talked and worked with over 1 million people from 147 countries around the world, and there's not one person who ever says they wouldn't like to make more. Even if they're making multiple millions of dollars, they want to make more. So I know you'd like to make more money. So would you like to know specifically how to do that? Well, if the answer is yes to those questions, then you're in the right place in the right time, because I'm going to share with you 3 principles of compensation. 3 principles that will tell you exactly why you are currently compensated what you're currently compensated, and more importantly, how to get compensated what you desire and deserve. Are you ready? So, principle number 1 of compensation is the perceived value of your product or service in the world. Now, the key word here is perceived. The perceived value of your product or service in the world. Now, why is it that athletes make millions and millions of dollars for throwing a ball on a net, and teachers make a pittance of that, make a tiny fraction of that? Now, we could argue that educating our future generations is much more valuable than sports and entertainment. But the key word here is perceived, because in our current society, we will pay much more to be entertained than we'll pay to be educated. Now, we could argue it shouldn't be that way, and maybe you're right, but arguing about it and resisting it is not going to change it. Does that make sense to you? So the first thing you have to look at is your product or service, and then ask yourself, what's the perceived value of my product or service? If you're not being remunerated to the degree you'd like to get paid, then you need to have a higher perception of the value of your product or service. And it's your job to drive that perception. Does that make sense to you? So when you have a high perceived value product or service, then we go to principle number 2 of compensation. Principle number 2 is how good you are at providing that value. How valuable you are. How good are you at providing the product or service that you represent? Now let's go to sports. I'm not a sports fan, but it's a good analogy. And it's an old analogy, but I'm sure you can relate to it. If you look at Kobe Bryant, God rest his soul, or a Michael Jordan, why is it that they were some of the highest paid, if not the highest paid athletes in the entire industry? Well, it's because they were really, really great at doing what they did. Does that make sense to you? Basketball had a high perceived value, entertainment. Remember, we say we'll pay way more to be entertained than to be educated. So, right, wrong, or indifferent. And so they were really good at putting that ball in the net. They were really good at providing the perceived value of their product or service, in this case is basketball. And so consequently, their remuneration, their payment reflected that. They were masterful. Now, Dr. Anders Ericsson is the world expert on what it takes to develop mastery. And what his research has found is it takes a minimum of 10,000 hours of what he calls deliberate practice. Now, to give you a context, 10,000 hours is 3 hours of deliberate practice every single day, no weekends off, no vacations, for a minimum of 10 years. 3 hours a day for a minimum of 10 years will give you 10,000 hours. Now, that's not popular in today's world. I mean, there are people out on social media saying, build your dream business in 7 days. Okay. Come back and see me when that one doesn't work. Life doesn't work that way. And so, for you to become masterful, you have to pay the price. Look, you're going to do something for the next 10 years. Am I right? So, are you going to be mediocre for the next 10 years, or are you going to commit to mastery? You're going to do something for the next 10 years. You might as well do something that's going to help you become masterful. And that will cover the second principle of compensation. Just to recap, first principle is the perceived value of your product or service. If you're not being remunerated the way you want to be paid, then you need to look at the perceived value of your product or service. And it's your job to increase the perceived value. And that comes into principle number 2, which is how good are you at providing that product or service? You can have a great product or service. You know, Bersabeh and I are doing consulting with a company right now that has the best product in their entire industry, bar none. And yet there are thousands and thousands of individuals, representatives, who are not getting great results. They're not getting the best results. Why? If it was just about the product or service, then the people representing the product or service would all have great results. They'd be at the top of their game, and they're not. Why? Because of principle number 2. They're not that good at providing that product or service. Does that make sense to you? And that brings us to principle of compensation number 3. Principle number 3, the ease with which you can be replaced or duplicated. You see, let's go to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, I'm convinced, is the only human being that has ever mastered the ability to fly. Am I right? I mean, he could fly from center court. He could fly. Michael Jordan is very difficult. Kobe Bryant was next to impossible to be replaced or duplicated. There was only one Kobe Bryant. There was only one Michael Jordan. And you could fill in whoever is masterful in their profession. And they are unique. They are stand apart. They are very, very difficult to be replaced or duplicated. And when you're very difficult, if not impossible, to be replaced or duplicated, then your compensation is going to reflect that. And so for you, here's 3 checkpoints. If you have a high perceived value in your product or service, if you become masterful at providing that product or service, then the third thing you have to do is have a uniqueness that sets you apart. You have to differentiate yourself in the market. You cannot be a cliche and reach the top of your financial goals. Does that make sense to you? You can't be quoting everyone else and being a cliche and copying everyone else and reach the top of your game. You have to be unique. You have to be hard, if not impossible, to replace or duplicate. Now, those are the 3 principles of compensation, and I promise you, when all of those are strong and you master all 3 of them, then your income will reflect that. And unless and until you do, it won't. So look at your income right now and ask yourself the question, which of the 3 do I need to work on? Maybe all 3, maybe 2 out of 3, maybe only 1. But where do I need to put more energy and emphasis? Now, I hope this makes sense to you because you are so deserving, you're so worthy, and you haven't even begun to scratch the surface of your potential. It's going to take work. It's not going to be easy. If it were easy, then everyone would be at the top of their game, and they're just not. If this makes sense to you, then let me help you. Would you like to master the principles of compensation? Would you like to provide more value and thereby earn more income? Would you like to grow and develop and advance? Because let me promise you this, your results are a reflection of you. Period. Look at your results right now, and that's a reflection of you. If you want your results to grow, you must grow. There's no other way. And so let me help you. My wife, Bersabeh, and I have a coaching program that's our most accessible. There's no barrier to entry to speak of. Every single week, it's called Project Stay Home. We developed it in 2020 when everyone was in lockdown, and we've decided to continue. We have a live coaching session every single week on Thursday night at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, not to worry if you're from outside the country, because we have plenty of members from outside the country. It's on Zoom. And so you can join us live, or if you can't make it live, you don't have to worry on that either, because we record all the sessions and we put them into an online library that you have full access to 24/7 for as long as you're a member. You can get all your questions answered. You can get all the tools, the techniques, the strategies, the skills, the psychology, the physiology, the community. We'll plug you into a community that is off the chain. And so just click the link above my head. See it right up here? Just click the link above my head and it'll take you directly to the landing page. It'll give you all the details. It's $19.97 a month. Yeah, you heard me right. That's less than $5 a week for 4 live coaching sessions every single month, once every single week. If you want to invest less than $5 a week in your own growth and development, in your own value, in your own growth, then you can never expect to become more, because remember, your results are a reflection of you. You want your results to grow, you have to grow. Just click the link above my head. It'll take you right to the landing page. A credit card and $19.97 will get you started. You can opt out anytime you'd like, but people don't leave. It's just tremendous value. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Click the link above my head and join us on Thursday night. We'll get started this Thursday night and every Thursday night thereafter. Once again, if this video was valuable to you and you'd like to help me help you, help your family and friends, then just click the share button and spread the wealth. A lot of people need help in today's disruptive times. And so it's a really easy way. Just hit the share button to help others and to also help yourself. God bless you. Lots of love to you. Thank you for a couple of moments your day, and we'll look forward to having you in our community at Project Stay Home. God bless.